Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. Thank you for attending the New Horizons Computer Learning Center's webinar on Tableau, taking your career to the next level. My name is John O'Keefe, and I am the Technology Education Jedi here with Logical Operations. We are one of New Horizons' premier courseware partners, and we have written some Tableau content that they will be using to hopefully increase your career skills and get you into the perfect job placement for you. Today, we will be covering four key topics. We'll be talking about the state of data in 2019, so we understand the world that we're living in now and why data is more important than ever. We will be talking about what exactly is Tableau. We will be talking about why you should use Tableau and how it can help benefit your career. And then lastly, some logistics pieces for taking a Tableau class with New Horizons. So why is 2019 so important? Well, 2019 has been dubbed the year of data. The Economist has said that the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, but data. And 7 of the 10 most valuable companies in the world are built on tying data to human behavior. Now, let's go back 40 years in the 1980s. The world's largest companies would have been ExxonMobil, General Motors, Ford, IBM, General Electric, Xerox, Kodak, etc. And what do all those companies have in common? Well, they built something. They turned a natural resource and they turned it into something, or they gathered a natural resource and shared it out with the world. So whether we're talking about computers or automobiles or fossil fuels or healthcare equipment, there was a manufacturing process. All of these companies were built on the sale of goods and services. Now, 7 of the 10 most valuable companies do not produce anything, which is why 2019 and beyond, we've seen such a shift in the way that companies do business. And that relates back to data because data is the natural resource now that all of these companies are using, which is why we are in what's currently being referred to as the fourth industrial revolution. Obviously, the first industrial revolution is the rise of factories. The second is the rise of the assembly line. The third is the rise of the internet and the personal computing era. And the fourth being this interconnectedness that we now all have because of high-speed internet and the amount of data we can share back and forth. Now, if you take a look at all the logos you see here on the screen, each one of these companies has something significant in common. And it's that they are incredibly valuable, yet really don't produce anything. Facebook is the world's largest repository of content, but they don't make any of that content. We do. Uber is the world's largest taxi service, but they don't own any cars. All of their drivers do. Airbnb is the largest hospitality company in the world, but they don't own any property. Amazon, of course, the world's largest retailer, really doesn't make anything. And so these companies are a different way of doing business, but the critical component to all of them is data. And that's why companies are looking for trained individuals who understand data. Now, when we talk about 2019, we also should address the fact that there is a swing in the industry of training. And if you're interested in taking a training, this should be of interest to you. The big thing I'd like to point out is that IT and related certifications are a $3 billion industry in 2019. And some other facts are 27% of companies are going to pursue certification training in 2019. 15% of companies have increased their training budget by over 25%. Large companies are spending 2.5 times more per employee in 2019 on training. And 65% of businesses are increasing their budget to an increased scope of training. So what does all this mean for you? What it means is that organizations out there are looking to get people certified. And when it comes to data science with programs like Tableau, a certification goes a long way. And as you'll see, New Horizons is offering training that maps to Tableau Desktop Qualified Associate certifications. So the training industry is really heavily focused on certifications. Businesses really want to train their employees. So this is the perfect time to take your skills to the next level with Tableau. So what exactly is Tableau? Well, almost every organization, like we've talked about, has some form of data. And whether or not that data comes in uh, time cards, spreadsheets for sales, complex workflows, shipping manifests, customer satisfaction surveys, uh, any type of data that a company could be collecting, whether it's your personally identifiable information or generic sales information. There are so many data streams now that each organization has to deal with. Now, what we've been doing and what has worked okay in the past is we've been taking all of this data and dumping it into Excel. And when you do that, you end up with something that looks like this. And we've all seen a spreadsheet that looks exactly like this. We maybe made a spreadsheet that looks exactly like this. Now, at first glance, can anyone tell me exactly what they see here? So I see that there are watermelon pot holders and mason jars and tables. I see column C has dollar values. I'm really not sure what's going on in any of the other columns because there's no column header. But at first glance, I really can't make heads or tails of this. This is the problem that most organizations are currently facing. If they have all of this data, it gets dumped into Excel. People do the best they can to interpret it, but this is pretty incomprehensible unless you're staring at the absolute raw data and know what it means. So how can you ever make a business decision based on this? Well, the truth is that it's very difficult to do that, which is why organizations are now turning to Tableau. Tableau is a program that can take data from any source, including Excel, SQL, Google Analytics, SAP solutions, Salesforce, PDFs, online, you name it, it can take data from it. And it can load that data from single sources, multiple sources, and even maintain live updates. So as the data changes, so does the Tableau visualizations. And as we load this data in, what we're able to do is take some simple filters that we can learn about in training and create stunning visualizations that interpret data in a way that makes sense without going through all of the Excel spreadsheets. Now, what I'm about to show you are some Tableau visualizations. These are actual visualizations that were produced in Tableau off of Excel data sets by random users. And were they live in a Tableau environment, you would be able to manipulate them and see them, click on certain data points, and access additional information. But for now, we're going to show you kind of what Tableau can do. So the first we have here is an election graphic. This shows swing states from 1988 till 2016. And with that, they are able to, we're able to kind of look at all of this election data and see that how people voted. And in this case, I had clicked on Ohio. So this will show you how everyone voted in Ohio from 1988 to 2016. Keep in mind, I could click on any of these states and the data would change. Now, if I were staring at an Excel spreadsheet, this data would look very different. But from this visualization, I can very easily see that Ohio tends to vote conservative to the red, and that very rarely do they ever vote liberal. And so this makes sense to me. If I were to click on New York, I'd probably see the data go the other way. And I can very easily understand this just from a simple image. And again, this was all created based on an Excel data set. Next, we have the Harry Potter family tree. Now, the reason I show this is because I enjoy Harry Potter, but I also think it's interesting that this could be not a Harry Potter family tree, but a project management tool or an organizational flow chart. So each one of these data points you can click on and see relational data. So imagine that instead of it being Harry Potter, this was your company, and every data point you clicked on, you would see an employee's email address, their phone number, a picture of them, what they're doing currently, who their direct reports are, etc. So that could be very helpful for organizational purposes. And again, this data all comes from just a simple Excel document with some visualizations built in, and people can use this. Now, from Harry Potter to a more traditional business presentation, this is how McDonald's won over customers in Japan. This is what we would call a story, and this shows ups and downs in the fast food trend, tourism growth, rice consumption, increased spending on fast food, what currencies were doing. And from this visualization, we can tell a pretty simple story about what was going on with fast food and why it increased in Japan. So instead of poring over mountains and mountains of spreadsheets, we can very easily go to the C-suite level people inside a company, present this graphic, and trust that they're going to understand these images because they're very easy to understand. Lastly, Tableau can use mapping data to show routes, to show supply chain, to show how, in this case, snow plows operated on a snow event in March. And when cities are placing IoT sensors in their trucks, they're able to take this data, make sure the trucks aren't overlapping each other in their routes, make sure that they're taking the most efficient route so that they save time and gas on the trucks and also wear and tear on the roads and the vehicles. So Tableau can help do those types of things with geolocation data. Now, what Tableau is really designed to do, again, is take data and democratize it. Now, what do I mean by that? When we looked at that Excel spreadsheet previously, we've seen that that data was fairly incomprehensible. Now I'm showing you some Tableau data, and it's a hospital patient flow. Now, without really knowing anything about this organization, it's pretty clear to see that based on the colors, that the patient load is really, really heavy in the evenings. So if I were a hospital staffing agent, I would know that I would need more staff in the evenings. Now, when I look below, I can see that two of my units have significantly longer wait times when it comes to how long people are waiting. So I can see that my Med 1T unit and my Surgery 4 unit have really, really long wait times. What I can probably do with that data is I can change staffing. I can understand that that I need more people there especially during the peak hours in the evenings. So I may put more people on in the evenings. And then as I can see here, my daily averages tend to drop after September. So from January to August of each year, I would know that I probably need more people on. But I also might want to understand what's going on since September. Now, Tableau lets me democratize that data so anyone can understand it. We've all stared at this for about 3 minutes, but we can all make some educated guesses about what we would need to do next. We'd want to make sure we have more staff on in the evenings, more staff during the first half of the year, and some of our departments obviously need additional staffing to get the wait time down. And we can communicate that through simple, easy to understand visualizations, and then also within Tableau itself. You can see here two people having a conversation about what they might need to do, and then what kind of data they're sharing back and forth. So that's really what the democratization of data is all about. It's getting it out of the hands of only a few people and giving it to everyone inside an organization so people can make smart decisions, which has great impact on business, as we'll see soon. All of this is why Tableau is a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. There's only one other company up there that's really in the same space, and that's Microsoft, and that's their Power BI product. Organizations simply choose between Tableau and Power BI for the most part for their data analytics needs. And so that way, with that information, Tableau has been around since the mid 2000s. It's a really great software, and it's not going away anytime soon. And of course, for an organization, security is absolutely important. We hear about data breaches every day. So Tableau has made sure that they are SOX compliant. that they are part of the Service Organization Council and are mentioned in that report and are GDPR compliant as well with how they handle their data. So all of that leads to Tableau having over 80,000 customers with some really big names in there, like Google, Bank of America, Coca-Cola, Cisco, and some other ones that we're going to see soon here when we take a look at why we should use Tableau. But Tableau also has a user conference that over 17,000 people attend last year. And so this software is on the rise. It's very hot, and more organizations are adopting it, which is absolutely a great reason to take a training on it and become more proficient. So why should you use Tableau? Why should you get Tableau training? Well, number one, the demand for data scientists currently outpaces supply by over 50%. So quite simply, there's not enough people doing data science for all the roles that are out there. It's been called the sexiest job in the 21st century by Harvard Business Review. Demand for data scientists is going up another 30% by 2020. So unless more people get trained, that demand for data scientists outpacing supply is going to continue to go up. And at last I checked, Indeed.com currently has 23,000 job listings for people with Tableau skills. So those are some excellent reasons why you should consider a career in data science, which starts with really understanding Tableau. Another really interesting point is IoT is everywhere. To 95% of electronic products by 2020, 20.4 billion connected devices, and organizations are all embracing IoT. What does that have to do with Tableau? Well, let's take a look at healthcare, for example. There's going to be a 680% growth of installed base of healthcare IoT devices by next year. And by 2025, IoT in healthcare is going to be a $534 billion market. And what is IoT predicated on? Data. IoT is nothing but sensors collecting data. And that data needs to be sent somewhere, processed, wrangled, and understood through programs like Tableau. So as IoT becomes more and more popular, programs like Tableau, Python, and other data analytics tools are going to be the next great frontier for employees who are looking to grow their careers. So, what does it take to be a data scientist specifically using Tableau? There's a few key skills that you're going to want to investigate and take a look at whether or not you would like them. But what I typically suggest is looking at these following six key terms to make sure that you yourself would be a good fit for a data science position. You want to look at data mining and wrangling, machine learning, have a good understanding of mathematics and statistics, have a good understanding of how to make things visual, understand what big data is, and then lastly, have good communication skills. Because as a data scientist, you're going to be creating Tableau visualizations and sharing them out with the world. What kind of salary can you expect to earn? Well, the average salary for a data scientist is $95,000. Senior data scientists are $130,000. Business intelligence architects who build their own BI reports around $110,000. Types of training that you may want to look into is you definitely want to have Excel. We're talking about Tableau, but Power BI, Oracle, Big Data, Python, those types of training can also benefit you as well. And as far as being an entry-level position, data science is the highest entry-level base salary of any job in 2019, according to Glassdoor. So with some basic training around programs like Tableau and Excel, you can become a data scientist and earn the highest base salary pay of any job currently in 2019. Now, if you're already working for a business and they're not using Tableau, these next few slides may help make the presentation as to why they should. So we're going to look at some businesses now. We're going to look at Southwest Airlines, Chipotle, Honeywell, and Pepsi, and how they all use Tableau to help grow their business. Now, Southwest Airlines was seeking new insight into what was happening during every flight. Southwest basically became the first US domestic airline to employ a big data system. They installed IoT sensors on all of their aircraft in the engines and in other components, and used them on the industrial Internet of Things, which is a secure network. And they started collecting a ton of data. When they had reached a sufficient point of collecting data, they started feeding it into business intelligence solutions like Tableau. What they were looking for is ways in which they could cut down costs. Now, I'll give everyone a guess as to what the biggest cost for Southwest Airlines is. Yes, that is correct. It is fuel. So fuel is their largest cost. That makes sense to us, right? They're planes, they're flying around all over the place. So anything they could do to cut down on fuel consumption would be really paramount. So they started feeding all of this data into their BI systems and Tableau. And what they found was there were a bunch of opportunities they could have to save fuel. Idling for too long on a runway wastes excess fuel. Flying at 32,000 feet when the temperature is over 70 degrees as opposed to under 70 degrees wastes more fuel than flying under 32,000 feet. Certain landing techniques waste more fuel. All of these things were visualized and understood, and they started rewriting their manuals and how they would do things. And as a result of that, uh, Southwest Airlines is now saving $100 million a year in operating costs. So they've been able to cut down their operating costs by $100 million by utilizing Power BI, Tableau, and other business intelligence solutions. Now, Chipotle, one of my favorite restaurants, in 2015 had a crisis. There was a health scare. Probably all of you remember this. A bunch of people got sick. And so Chipotle had to close a bunch of stores. And when their stores were closed, they took a look and they tried to determine why this had happened. And they noticed that they had over 20 different key performance indicators for every store. And those key performance indicators were coming from a variety of data sets, like email, Excel, proprietary data sets they designed themselves, operational grids, supply chain, supplier data, all this stuff coming at the managers of each store in a fairly incomprehensible way. So there was really no way for the manager of the Chipotle on James Street to know that the location 3 miles down the road had received a bad shipment of avocados, and to know whether or not the truck that supplies the Chipotle down the road is the same truck that brings him his avocados and where those avocados are sourced from, and et cetera, et cetera. And you can start to see how a person who works and manages Chipotle trying to keep up with 20 different KPIs all in different systems could just get overwhelmed. And on top of that, no visibility into what their neighborhood stores were doing. So nobody was sharing any of this data. So Chipotle said, we got a real problem here. How are we going to fix this? We can't do less. We have so much data. We need to do more with the data. So they went to Tableau and they said, listen, we need help. And Tableau said, here's Tableau. Why don't you take it and go see what you can build out? And so over the course of 1 week, 40 hours, Chipotle was able to create a Tableau visualization that showed all 20 different key performance indicators on one dashboard and allowed store managers to basically go through and be able to see how their store was performing and how neighborhood stores were performing and how national stores were performing, what the supply chain looked like for all their groceries coming in, what their customer satisfaction looked like. And this was accomplished over the course of only 1 week. So they were able to build this in just 1 week. And now Chipotle saves 10,000 hours per month on labor. And even at $10 an hour, that's $1.2 million a year after 40 hours worth of work. So that's some incredible savings from understanding the power of their own data and making it so everyone inside their organization could understand it. Next up is Honeywell. Honeywell's Global Finance Center is the global analytics hub for their entire $40 billion company. But since March of 2016, Honeywell scaled to 9,000 Tableau users company-wide. Since adopting Tableau, their senior director of operations and transformation estimates that Honeywell saves 10 to 20,000 man hours per month. When it comes to business value, they say you can't really put a price on this. What they're doing with Tableau and another program called Alteryx is they're taking data from their 150 different ERP systems, including SAP, Oracle, Navision, JD Edwards, and they're instead of using Excel, which is what they were previously using, they are cutting down on their reporting times from all of these different ERP systems. Reports that used to take up to 3 to 4 months to produce with Tableau can be created in hours or less. Um, uh, they used to spend 70% of the time on their data extraction and all the drudge work. So getting the data, finding the data, making the data presentable, and then loading it into Excel, with only 30% on analytics. Now they're swapped because of using Tableau. So they spend 70% of their time analyzing the data. It's basically had this huge impact on their direct P&L, and it saved them 20,000 hours per month. And then lastly, let's take a look at Pepsi. So to make sense of data from retail customers, Pepsi adopted Tableau and reduced report production time by as much as 90%. Using a program called Trifecta, the CPFR team wrangled disparate data, pulling it into Tableau for forecasting and analysis, and reducing end-to-end runtime of PepsiCo's analysis by as much as 70% and report production time by as much as 90%. Now, with faster, more accurate reporting, Pepsi's competitive advantage in the retail space goes up, and they've been able to provide best-in-class service to customers. Basically, in the past, they had primarily relied on Excel for analysis, creating large quantities of messy data. And with no way of really understanding that data, Pepsi wasn't able to respond to market trends very quickly. With Tableau, they're now able to cut down on their report production time by 90%, meaning that when reports are created, they are valuable to them because they are timely, and therefore Pepsi can go out into the market and make smarter decisions. So you have one company saving $100 million a year. You have another company saving 10,000 hours a month. You have another company saving 20,000 hours a month. And you have Pepsi with a 90% reduction in report time. So all of these, plus the fact that data science is an incredibly hot career right now, there's not enough people doing it, there's more jobs than they have candidates for, should give you a really compelling reason why you should want to take Tableau training. Because with some Tableau training from New Horizons, you will be able to bring the value of Tableau to an organization and save them time and money just like this, while also really furthering your career and making sure that you're in the best place to make the most money possible. So now, how do you take a Tableau class? So first, why would you take a Tableau training with New Horizons instead of just looking up videos online? Well, Tableau is a complex piece of software, and with New Horizons training, you're going to get fast training in 2 or 4 days, depending on how much you need. You can get super effective instructor-led training, which is much better than just watching a video on this, with plenty of hands-on activity and practice. And it's incredibly affordable. $900 to $1,200 per 2 days of training, depending on how it's being delivered, whereas Tableau charges $1,500 to $1,700 for Tableau authorized training. So you've got fast, effective, and affordable training offered from New Horizons. Knowing that you'll be in a career where your average salary is $95,000 a year, spending $1,000 on training is an absolute easy decision to make. Now, as far as what's incorporated in the class, Tableau Desktop Part 1 is 2 days of training. It's offered in person or online live, and it covers some Tableau fundamentals, exploring and connecting data, managing, sorting, and grouping data, saving and sharing data, creating maps, dashboards, stories, and visualizations. This is the first part of the Desktop Qualified Associate certification from Tableau. Now, this is what 90% of people will take, and they will never need to take another class after this unless they want to do further on with data science. However, Tableau Class Part 2 does allow you to be more prepared for the certification. It is also 2 days of training, offered in person and online live, and it maps to the second part of the Desktop Qualified Associate certification. In Tableau Part 2, we cover blending data, joining data, accessing data in PDFs, refining visualizations with sets and parameters, manipulating data, visualizing data with advanced calculations, statistical analysis and forecasting, and then finally enriching visualizations, dashboards, and maps. Now, with that, we have come to the end of our presentation. I want to be mindful of everyone's time as we're just slightly over 30 minutes. What you'll see in front of your screen here is information on how to learn more from New Horizons about Tableau training with contact information and a phone number, as well as a landing page. I would implore anyone who's interested or who has taken an Excel class to consider taking a Tableau class. Data science is really the next hot career. There are plenty of job opportunities out there. It pays very well, and businesses are quickly adopting data science as one of those critical components and pieces of software that they're using inside their organization. There is so much data in today's society. Understanding it, analyzing it, wrangling it, and being able to make heads or tails of what you're looking at will be critical in the next 5 years as businesses are forced to make tough decisions on data. You can either be the reason your company lands that giant contract, or the challenge, or the reason your company faces challenges because they're not prepared to use a proper business intelligence tool with data science. With that said, I want to thank everyone for attending. I hope that we will see you soon in some New Horizons Tableau classes. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to New Horizons. They can get you set up with the information and a class schedule immediately. Thank you so much.